Welcome to Sustainability in Your Ear. I'm Mitch Ratcliffe, and today we're really pleased to be joined by Mary Kay Hughkull, who is in Evansville, Indiana, and she's the publisher of Community Garden Magazine and the producer of Community Garden Revolution, the podcast. Mary, welcome to Sustainability in Your Ear.
Oh, my honor. I'm so very glad to be here, Mitch. My honor.
Well, we wanted to talk about community gardens with you. They're an important part of a community, not to be redundant, but getting people together to grow their own food, to contribute to food banks and so forth, and also just to be together doing something in the soil and growing things is such an important project for every community. So I would love to talk about, first off, why is it, what are the good reasons to start a community garden, the ones that really get them going and stay going?
Well, you have to have a mission. Everyone has to have a reason why you're there. So that could be for, helping out seniors. It could be helping out the veterans, which I really love those projects. And it can also be helping out your neighborhood or your community neighborhood association groups. That's real popular because I can swing into being a food hub. It's a great opportunity for other groups, let's say, that can start into urban farms down the road. They get the experience first there at community gardens and then graduate up. This is a wonderful thing for prisons. There are people that actually go around the country and teach by certificates. These prisoners get little work certificates so that when they finish community garden work, then they get certificates that they can do landscaping, marketing, sales, bookkeeping, and they can take those skills and then after they get out of prison, be able to go to the workforce and be able to apply for a job. And I'm hoping with the new thoughts that they have about prisons now to try to keep, like if someone did an infraction and they had to stay in 22 years, cut it down to the 5 or whatever years and then be able to get out in the workforce. So I hope that we can expand even more community gardens so that people can get that kind of food system experience.
So, and then you just hit on the other thing is localism is the key to food security.
Yes.
Can you talk a little about how community gardens fit into making sure that we're getting enough of the food and types of food that we need all year long?
Oh boy, that's a big subject there. Basically, in a nutshell, you probably already know the SNAP program at September 30th is the deadline that they've got to get that decided in Congress through the Farm Bill. And the problem that they're running into is, of course, always cost and how they pay for it and how they make it work. And there's 12,000 doctors in our nation that's working with some other medical group, and they're trying to get more fruits and vegetables on the table for people. That's the whole key because it's going to help them with their health and also preventive medicine, keep the cost down on medical. And that's one area that's important. As far as helping your community, people are wanting to go back to basics. That's why I'm so glad I just went through a grocery store today and they were selling our local or area melons, watermelons and other kinds of other melons. And we see those in trucks going up and down the street, the highway all the time, and it's carved out buses. So people are wanting to go back to basics. They wanted to get food that doesn't have so many herbicides and pesticides on them. I eat apples now that are peeled. When I was younger, I used to eat apples all the time with the skin on them. And now we peel it all off, which makes my heart break, but we peel them all off and go ahead and serve them by slices. My dentist feels that's the way you do it too, because he's finding that people that try to eat inside apples, believe it or not, that makes your teeth more brittle in the front. Really? I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that.
And then you talked about donations. So a community garden can donate to a food bank and to a food program.
Yeah.
And are there any regulatory barriers to doing that kind of thing that you have to be prepared to overcome?
Well, okay. As far as the donation parts, I'm sure every city and town does something different, but I know in our area, we're in the Midwest, we are a big belt of corn and soybeans. That's all we know is corn and soybeans. But the people want to eat other fresh fruits and veggies and melons and that kind of thing. We sell pumpkins a lot to America. As far as the zoning part, you could run into zoning problems where you put a community garden, so you have to check with your local zoning board or your department, find out what the rules are. Are they going to allow someone to donate their land or part of their land, which is popular in some places? Do you have to have a special permit to do that? Can you use the land, which a lot of people use, let's say if there's an old building, let's say in Detroit, and what they did to turn around them faster is they went ahead, they tore down those old buildings, and then they started building small farms and community gardens so that people could go ahead and start their own ag economy. That was smart because you could do that on a dime. And they went ahead and started all that, and they were able to sell their products. I don't know if they exported them. Now, New York is the biggest one as far as exporting. Those people can take their items to this particular company, and they export those products. See, that's great. Yes, sir. And so I'd like to see more of that. It's to finding the venture fund kind of stuff. I'm going to be approaching a company here soon. I approached one about 2 years ago, and they were more centered on affordable housing. So these folks, I'm just going to ask them flat out, would you allow something like more food hubs around or something? And you know, can we get the financing for that? Approach some towns, give it a good run 1 year and see what happens. And then if we can expand, I would love that. But community gardens allows a community to thrive together. They get them out in the street. That's how they cut down crime in large cities. If you go ahead and put, like in New York, let's say for fun, if you put one there, they're finding that it cuts down crime around an area because they have no place to hide their stuff or hide their bodies or their guns or whatever, because there's people out there all the time.
Right, and there's a shared space that people feel collectively responsible for. So
yes, sir. Yes, sir. And they all watch out for each other. So that's been a plus in many cities. And I'm like, well, how come the police don't go ahead and start a program everywhere if that's so effective? Because evidently it's supposed to be very effective. But, you know, who knows?
Well, so you mentioned getting zoning and the kind of, you know, finding the land must be one of the biggest steps in getting this kind of thing started. So if you were going to start a garden, and I know you've done it a number of times, what would you start by looking for? Vacant space, or would you just look to land you might have to contribute, or would you go to the city and ask them if they have land that could be farmed? How do you go about starting one like that?
All of it. Do all of it.
Okay.
Any of it and all of it. Because even when Chicago, I love this part. They have used, you know, Elon Musk does a SpaceX, where his brother has a small farming kind of thing up in Chicago. And a lot of what they do up there, different folks, they use hydroponics and aquaponics. So they use old warehouses, and they use the different floor levels to go ahead and grow food. Now you find that in some of the places in Europe all the time, where they use those old buildings, those skyscrapers, and they go ahead and either knock out the windows or keep the windows, and then go ahead and use that as their growing site area. And inside the buildings, then they go ahead and use that as like learning center areas or for the storage.
Okay, so you just kind of broke a paradigm in my mind. I had been thinking mostly about open space, but community gardens now are moving indoors and vertical.
Yes, sir. Particularly St. Louis, the downtown folks. See, once you do a community garden, a lot of times they're finding that the developers, all of a sudden, when they find that those neighborhoods are cleaned up, then it becomes more attractive to build. So then they push out those community gardens. There's meetings all the time in New York City about, you know, they're trying to save their community gardens because another developer wants to come in and take their land. So they have meetings on this all the time. But St. Louis, they were so tired of having to move their community gardens from here to there downtown all the time. Now they build a lot of them on top of buildings.
Okay.
And then have the farmers market downstairs, and then upstairs, along with their garden, then they can do fundraising events, dinners, have some jazz music going on, whatever. Really cool stuff.
So the garden itself becomes sort of a community locale that everybody can share in yet another way, too. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So even though your mission is one thing, it could change to be something else to adapt. You have to adapt with a community garden.
That's an interesting observation. So just as the city is changing all the time, the garden has to be prepared to continue to evolve with it.
Yes, sir. Because about 2 years ago, food hubs became very popular. We only heard about food hubs, and then all of a sudden it became very popular. So even the neighborhood association groups, they started to go, okay, and where can we have a central meeting place? And then this allows them to also, and I love this part, they go ahead and they have, let's say, 7 different associations in their town. Then they can meet once a month and then talk about their community gardens and growing and da-da. But to me, isn't that a great opportunity to talk about other things? You know what I'm saying? Like how to run your town? Yeah.
Well, and in fact, you're in Evansville, and I got my start understanding how communities are organized and how politics works from my grandmother, who was on the city council of Evansville, Indiana.
Oh, how about it? How about it?
And so I know exactly how, and it's funny because as we talk, I keep thinking I hear my grandmother's voice. You have a very Southern Indiana way of speaking.
Well, we're just a bridge away, from Kentucky. We always go over there across the bridge. When we come back, we always come back talking like we're from Kentucky. And I was like, well, when they come visit us, how come they don't talk like us? So I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you, I remember the best peach I ever had was just outside Evansville, and it was fresh picked off a tree. My grandmother says, you'll never forget this. And in fact, I never did. So gardening in Evansville was always an adventure and a wonderful.
Oh, wonderful. That is wonderful.
So let's talk a little about when you mentioned the mission before. And these gardens can have very different groups of people, and they can serve very different groups of people. So if you're starting up and are looking for the right focus for a garden, you mentioned the jails, veterans coming back who would be looking for lots of stress release as well as the ability to do something constructive.
Yes.
Who would you start with? Start with your kids, start with your grandparents, and bring the kids. How would you go?
Well, you're going to have to ask your city councilman if you're allowed to go ahead and put a community garden in that area.
Right.
Because some towns, believe it or not, churches start the most community gardens, and some towns, they like to grab on that tax money. So they may all of a sudden say, hey, we have 30 churches that have a community garden started. So they may say, okay, now you got to be inspected. So we're going to have you pay a $40 fee every year for our inspectors to come out and make sure that they're growing right. There's not rodents in there and that kind of stuff. Right. I would prefer a town not do that, because I think that keeps away from the whole part of why you start a community garden, by helping other people and not be regulated so much. But, as long as I start one, who cares, at this point, because we need so many. But bottom line, you have to go talk to your city councilman. Can I go ahead and use either my neighbor's empty lot? Can I use the lot that's down there that you tore down on the house? Can I use whatever? And then find it from them, get the permission from them, and then go through the process of what they do. And every town's different.
Yep.
Because there's a lady and a friend of hers that was a neighbor in her 90s. She's dead now, but they started just the two of them. And in the end, it became three of them. That there was a lot that was empty near them. It butted up against her property, and she got permission from the city to do a community garden. And in the end, they were so delighted. She even got donations without asking. She got money for fencing, for shovels and so on. She got money.
The community gives back, yeah.
Yes, sir, because they're beautifying that area and taking care of it. And she got some help, but I'm sure she probably got more. We always try to tell people, look down the road there, what do you see? You see a church, you see a youth group, you see a school, you see
take the whole neighborhood in, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And bring them all in. And you'd be surprised.
And do you need a gardener to drive all this, or can people learn through being a community garden member?
Everybody helps each other. But I know that we have a gardening guy that's now taking a little bit interest in one of the gardens in our town. And so he's trying to help them out with how to grow a little bit better or what to do. So it just depends upon the interest of your town. But everybody tries to help each other. And that's why it's very important to have camaraderie if you can. Not everybody gets along, it's part of life. But, hopefully you'll be a part of a group or, a community that you can press out ideas or swap them on Facebook back and forth with your pictures. People are generally there to help each other because they're there to supplement their income. They're there to eat better, and they want something that's going to be lasting for them in their lives. Some of them can, and some of them freeze, and they want some tips and ideas. They're there to not only have the camaraderie too, but they want to eat better. That's the whole thing. They want to eat better.
Well, that's great. And Mary, tell us where people can keep track of what you're doing.
Alrighty, they can look at my website at www.communitygardenmagazine.com. That's www.communitygardenmagazine.com. But I can also look at www.magzter.com. That's MAGZTER.com in the health section. I've also done a podcast since 2014. That's heard also on Stitcher Radio and also the app called Ola TV channel. It's let's see here. It's www.blogtalkradio/Mark Community Garden Revolution.
Well, Community Garden Revolution, I'll be listening,
Yes,
and we'll be checking you out. Also, you're on Facebook at Community Garden Magazine.
And we're going to be in distribution coming up. I was supposed to do it in May, but I had some surgery I had to take care of, and so we're going to be going in distribution and go ahead and get that started running for different radio stations to put us on with a news feature called Community Garden News, which we did about 2 years ago, and it had about 150 radio stations that I sent that information to once a week. And so we're really looking forward to how community gardens can expand and do better, because we're just too much needed in America, just too much needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And the more we can do together to help solve our problems.
We appreciate your help for getting the word out. My goodness, thank you. Thank you so
you're
much.
welcome.
I know the American Community Gardening Association will say, yay!
Well, we would be happy to continue to help. Hey, Mary, thank you very much for joining us on Sustainability in Your Ear, and we'll be listening and watching your work online.
Thank you, sir. My honor and pleasure. And again, start a community garden today. Thank you.
Well, that's Mary Kay Hughkull, who is in Evansville, Indiana, and the founder of Community Garden Magazine. We'll be back with more Sustainability in Your Ear.